If you have been paying attention to the league lately, you can feel that something is shifting in Cleveland. The Cavaliers are quietly signaling that the roster everyone thought was set might not be as untouchable as it once seemed. Outside of Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, the sense around the league is that almost everyone else can be discussed, obviously at different levels and depending on the return. That includes core names like Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen, which tells you this is not just about tweaking the margins. Cleveland looks like a team that understands the spark they had last season has not carried over, and instead of forcing the same formula, they're willing to shake things up and search for a different identity. You see this happen in the league more often than people like to admit. A team catches lightning in a bottle one year, everything clicks, confidence is high, the vibes are right, and then the following season it just feels different. The execution is not as sharp, the joy is not the same. And even when the talent is still there, the results do not match expectations. That is the feeling surrounding the Cavaliers right now. They are still competitive, still talented, but the urgency to retool is clearly there, and when a team reaches that point, the ripple effects spread quickly across the league. From the Lakers' perspective, that ripple is worth monitoring closely as Cleveland explores significant roster adjustments. One name that keeps popping up in league conversations connected to Los Angeles is DeAndre Hunter. He has become a player to keep an eye on as trade discussions begin to heat up. The Lakers, by all indications, still have their eyes set on Herb Jones as a priority target. But if that avenue does not open up, Hunter is being viewed as a realistic and intriguing alternative. The logic is simple. The Lakers are searching for a legitimate wing who can defend, space the floor, and survive in playoff basketball without being completely dependent on the stars to function. That need has been obvious for a while. Los Angeles needs a player who can live on the perimeter, handle defensive assignments against quality wings, and still provide enough offense to keep defenses honest. Hunter checks many of those boxes, even if he does not check them in a perfect or elite way. He is a familiar name for the franchise too, considering he was originally selected on draft night by the Lakers before being moved, so there's at least some historical connection there, even if it is mostly symbolic at this point. When you look at Hunter's contract, you can see why Cleveland might be open to moving him and why the Lakers might see flexibility in that deal. He is making a little over $23 million this season, with that number rising to just under $25 million next year. For a Cavaliers team navigating cap pressure and tough financial decisions, that salary is not insignificant. For the Lakers, it can be viewed in two ways. Either he becomes a long-term piece who helps stabilize the wing rotation, or he turns into a sizable expiring contract next season that can be used as a tool to reshape the roster again if things do not fully come together. That is where the internal debate starts. If you're the Lakers and you feel like this season still has a real path forward, you value what Hunter brings on the floor right now. If you're unsure whether this group has enough to truly contend, you can still justify the move knowing that his contract gives you options later. The bigger question becomes the price. Cleveland is not in a position where they can simply take on unwanted money or fringe pieces. They're capped out, operating under strict limitations, and any deal would likely require real value going back. That is why it is hard to imagine a scenario where the Lakers could pull this off without including someone like Rui Hachimura. Cleveland is not going to be overly interested in filler contracts or developmental players alone. Then the discussion turns uncomfortable from a Lakers standpoint. Are you attaching draft capital to acquire Hunter? That is where hesitation comes in. Giving up a first-round pick for a player like DeAndre Hunter is not an automatic yes, especially when you consider that while he does many things well, he is not elite in any single category. From a basketball standpoint, Hunter is intriguing because of his versatility. He has the size and athleticism to play across multiple positions, realistically sliding anywhere from the 2 through the 4, depending on the lineup. That flexibility matters for a team that likes to experiment with different combinations and needs wings who can survive switching schemes. Offensively, he can shoot the ball, he can attack closeouts, and he is capable of putting the ball on the floor to create a shot when the play breaks down. He is not someone who needs to be spoon-fed every basket, which is valuable when you're sharing the floor with ball-dominant stars. Defensively, The picture is more complicated. There are stretches where Hunter looks locked in, physical, engaged, and capable of making life difficult for opposing wings. Then there are other moments where the effort and awareness drop, and he becomes a liability. His defensive rating this season reflects that inconsistency. It is not disastrous, but it is far from elite. The important thing to understand is that if the Lakers are expecting him to suddenly become a lockdown defender on the level of the very best specialists in the league, that expectation would lead to disappointment. Still, context matters. Compared to what the Lakers currently have on the wing, Hunter would represent an upgrade in several areas. He brings more athleticism, more ball handling, and a higher offensive ceiling than some of the current options. He is also at an age that aligns with what the front office seems to be prioritizing. At 28 years old, freshly into that age range, he fits neatly into a window that balances experience with remaining prime years. That matters when you're trying to compete now while not completely sacrificing the future. The concern, and it is a fair one, comes down to role and value. On this Lakers team, Hunter would not be a primary option. He would not have the ball in his hands consistently. Much of his offensive work would come from spacing the floor, attacking mismatches, and capitalizing on opportunities created by the stars. In that sense, his role would not look all that different from other wings who end up parked in the corner for long stretches of the game. When you are paying someone over $20 million a year, you have to be comfortable with that reality. That is why some fans and analysts hesitate when discussing paying a premium for a player whose best skills might not be fully utilized. Hunter can self-create, but how often would he be asked to do that in this system? He can score in bunches on certain nights, but would those chances be consistent? The risk is not that he is a bad player, because he is not. The risk is that you invest heavily in a skill set that ends up being underused, while still falling short of addressing the team's biggest need, which is top-end defense on the wing. None of this means a deal would be a mistake. It simply means it has to be approached carefully. Hunter makes the Lakers better. He raises the floor of the rotation. He gives the coaching staff more options. But the difference between a good move and a great move often comes down to cost, expectations, and how cleanly a player fits into the identity you're trying to build. That is the tension surrounding his name as trade discussions continue to swirl and Cleveland weighs how far they're willing to go in reshaping their roster. When you dig deeper into the numbers, the DeAndre Hunter conversation becomes even more layered because the production tells a story that is not as simple as good or bad. Through just over 24 games this season, he has been a consistent starter, logging close to 30 minutes per night and maintaining a solid usage within the offense. He is getting around a dozen field goal attempts per game, which already hints at how involved he is when he is on the floor. The efficiency, however, has been a mixed bag, and that is where opinions start to split. Overall, his shooting from the field has dipped compared to previous seasons. He is converting just under 43% of his attempts, which is noticeably lower than what he posted last year in Cleveland and even during his more efficient stretches in Atlanta. The three-point shooting is the biggest red flag at first glance. He is taking over 6 attempts per game from deep, which is strong volume for a wing in his role, but the percentage has fallen to just over 30%. For a player whose offensive value is heavily tied to floor spacing, that number stands out in a negative way. Context matters, though. Just one season ago, Hunter was knocking down over 40% of his three-point attempts on similar volume, both in Cleveland and previously in Atlanta. Over the course of his career, he has hovered in the high 30% range, which suggests this current slump may be more of an outlier than a new normal. Playing alongside elite playmakers can change the quality of look a shooter gets, and that is where the Lakers' angle becomes interesting. The gravity created by stars who constantly draw double teams can turn difficult shots into clean catch-and-shoot opportunities. If Hunter can climb back toward his career averages, even landing around 37 or 38%, his offensive impact would look very different. Inside the arc, the efficiency tells a more encouraging story. On his two-point attempts, he is finishing at a strong rate, well above 55%, which speaks to his ability to attack closeouts, finish through contact, and use his athleticism effectively. He also remains reliable at the free throw line, converting well over 80% of his attempts. That matters in tight games, especially in the playoffs, where every possession feels heavier and teams are more willing to foul to disrupt rhythm. Beyond scoring, Hunter provides modest contributions across the board. He pulls down over 4 rebounds per game, dishes a couple of assists, and chips in with steals and the occasional block. He is not going to stuff the stat sheet, but he does enough in multiple areas to avoid being one-dimensional. That kind of balance is useful in a playoff rotation, where opponents are constantly hunting weaknesses. Still, the central debate comes back to defense. Hunter's reputation as a defender has always been complicated. On paper, he has the size, strength, and athletic tools to be a high-level stopper. In practice, the results have been uneven. There are games where he looks engaged, sliding his feet, contesting shots, and using his length to disrupt passing lanes. Then there are stretches where his focus wanes, rotations are late, and his impact fades. His defensive metrics reflect that inconsistency, placing him closer to average than elite. For the Lakers, that creates a tough evaluation. The team's biggest need on the wing is not just competence, but excellence. They need someone who can consistently take on the toughest perimeter assignments, especially against the best scorers in the Western Conference. Hunter can help, but he may not fully solve that problem on his own. That does not make him unplayable or even undesirable. It simply means expectations have to be realistic. Age and timeline remain in his favor. At 28 years old, Hunter is firmly in his prime. He is not a developmental project, and he is not on the decline. That stability has value for a team that wants contributors who can step into meaningful roles immediately. The Lakers have been linked to players in a similar age range, signaling a desire to balance star power with dependable veterans who still have athletic juice left. Comparisons naturally arise when discussing Hunter's fit. Other wings around the league offer similar offensive profiles with varying defensive strengths. Some may be more reliable defensively, others more explosive offensively. The challenge is that acquiring any of them comes at a cost, whether it is draft capital, young players, or financial flexibility. Hunter's appeal lies in his versatility and his contract structure, which provides a degree of future leverage. That leverage should not be underestimated. If the Lakers were to acquire Hunter and things did not fully click, his expiring deal next season could become a valuable asset in its own right. Large expiring contracts are often key pieces in bigger trades, especially when star movement begins to shape the league landscape. Having that kind of contract on the books can open doors that would otherwise remain closed. At the same time, there's always risk in treating players as assets rather than solutions. Chemistry matters. Fit matters. A player who feels like a temporary piece may not fully buy into the role or the environment. For Hunter, landing in a situation where expectations are clear and the role is defined would be crucial. He is at his best when he knows what is being asked of him and can focus on execution rather than constantly adjusting. From a purely basketball standpoint, it is easy to see how he could help. He would give the Lakers another athlete on the wing, someone who can guard multiple positions, knock down open shots when in rhythm, and create offense when the play breaks down. He would raise the baseline level of the rotation and reduce the burden on the stars during the long grind of the season. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, in a move that could send shockwaves through the NBA, whispers around the league suggest that Kawhi Leonard, the two-time Finals MVP and current cornerstone of the Los Angeles Clippers, has accepted a proposal from their crosstown rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. While nothing has been officially confirmed, sources close to the situation indicate that discussions between Leonard and the Lakers have reached an advanced stage, leaving fans and analysts alike in disbelief. Leonard's potential switch to the Lakers would mark one of the most stunning shifts in recent NBA history. Known for his ice-cold demeanor and lethal scoring ability, Kawhi has been the heartbeat of the Clippers' playoff ambitions for years. His tenure in Los Angeles has been characterized by a mix of extraordinary performances and frustrating injury setbacks. And now, according to league insiders, The superstar is reportedly enticed by the allure of joining forces with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The rumor alone has already ignited a firestorm on social media, with fans divided between excitement and outrage. Lakers supporters are envisioning a lineup that could rival any team in league history, blending Leonard's defensive prowess with the championship pedigree of their current stars. Clippers fans, meanwhile, are bracing for the potential loss of their franchise player, fearing that their long-standing rivalry could take an even more dramatic turn. Sources say that the Lakers' offer reportedly includes a mix of long-term financial security and a roster built to maximize Leonard's strengths, a combination that has reportedly proven difficult for the Clippers to match. The possibility of Kawhi donning purple and gold has sparked endless debate among pundits, who speculate that this move could reshape the balance of power not just in the Western Conference, but across the entire league. While nothing is finalized, the rumor underscores the ever-present tension in Los Angeles, where two franchises constantly vie for supremacy both on the court and in the court of public opinion. Leonard's decision, if true, could become one of the defining storylines of this NBA era, leaving the basketball world on edge as fans wait to see whether this blockbuster speculation will materialize. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.